Hi, how are you doing? Now I know if you answer me, great, I know that's a lie. Because I live on this planet. And I know this thing has affected all of us, without exception. But don't let it get you down. Yeah, I'm here to encourage you, even as I give you the very latest of what is unfolding. I am here to tell you that there's hope. Yeah, and a lot of this hope is tied to you changing the way you think, and indeed starting to think for yourself. A lot of it is tied to you opening your eyes. It was a day for rekindling great hope for many Kenyans, as the president had a conversation via video link with patient zero, a young lady called Brenda. We know her name for the first time. And also a friend she came into contact with, known as Brian, who also ended up as one of the very first people in the country to test positive for this virus. It has now been announced that these two have fully recovered, which must give a lot of hope to those Kenyans who maybe previously did not believe it was possible to recover. Now, of course, it's very sad because the statistics, speak and they tell us a story all over the world, even if you don't want to believe the Kenyan case. And the statistics tell us this: a vast majority, a huge percentage of those who test positive end up recovering. Very few, a very small fraction, end up succumbing. Anyway, when somebody is gripped with fear, you don't have the time, nor the desire, to look at statistics, let alone try and interpret them, find out what they mean. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's a coincidence that on the same day, we had these two paraded as Kenyans who have actually recovered fully from the virus. It is the same day that the government announced 22 more cases, bringing the Kenyan tally to 81. Now, I'm sure you know, as the government improves and steps up testing, numbers are bound to go up. That should be obvious. If you're testing only 50 people, you don't expect a high number to come back positive. But if you're testing over 200 in a day, obviously, you expect the number of positives to be high. And I trust that the Kenyan government is very keen not to cause panic. And so there's a challenge here. And the challenge is, as the testing net widens and as many more people are tested daily, which is a good thing according to experts, the numbers they will have to announce are high. Which may not be a good thing to the public. Because not everybody understands these details. In my view, the two most important numbers should have been those who are critically ill from the virus, and those who have passed on. Those are the two very important figures, according to me. But who am I? I'm not an expert. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that it was not a bad idea to dilute what may appear to be alarming news with some very good news. Very interesting, during the same video conferencing session, the president revealed that in the days to come, depending on how the situation unravels, the government may be forced to take additional measures to protect Kenyans. Now, of course, that in simple language can only mean one thing: lockdown. Stay in your house and you're not allowed to go anywhere. My appeal to those who pray is that we need to pray very hard for our president. While he may want to make the most logical decision, he may not be able to. Why? Because of what we discussed. World leaders are under intense pressure. We saw yesterday how a whole president, the president of Brazil, has been reduced to a lame duck activist. I mean, the president of Brazil even had his posts deleted. Facebook post from the president of Brazil, deleted. Twitter post, deleted. Instagram, deleted. Yeah. And of course, we're being told it's because it's against the community regulations and rules of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And by the way, I'm sure most of you know, Instagram is owned by Facebook. It is very interesting, and indeed it should be instructive, that these very popular social media platforms have all gone on a campaign to fight fake news and misinformation over this virus. And fake news and misinformation, we're now made to believe, can include statements from the head of state of a country. Now, yesterday I said, this Brazilian case, the case of the Brazilian president, is conclusive proof of what we have always been saying, that world leaders, presidents, prime ministers are under intense pressure. So much pressure that they are not able to make a decision, which they believe in themselves. They are forced to make only one decision: lockdown. And today, I want to tell you that according to me, this is also very conclusive evidence that there's something going on here. A conspiracy theory is called a conspiracy theory because there's hardly any evidence. But the truth is, if you are to sit back and analyze everything that has happened and take into account all the facts before you, you cannot come to any other conclusion except that conclusion that I've just mentioned. There is something going on here, and it is much more than this virus. Now, just before I came in to make this recording, somebody sent me a very interesting video of a man called David Icke, Britain. I'm going to leave a link in the description area that will lead you to some of his videos, including the one that was sent to me. But what I want to say, I was totally amazed at what this man is saying, and how similar it is to what we have been saying on this channel all along. I have never met the man. I didn't know him, but now I'm hearing this man, who for the last 30 years has been telling people and warning people that what we're going through right now is coming. And of course everybody just brushed him aside. Indeed, most laughed at him. Conspiracy theory, crazy guy. That can never happen in the world. How? Well, now those who are laughing are paying much closer attention. And what struck me is that Mr. David Icke even identifies these people who are putting pressure on world leaders. He calls them a cult, a certain cult that has been ruling the world for a very long time. I know that sounds crazy, but you take in that video. I've put the links in the description area below. Listen to the man yourself and hear what he has to say. I found it super interesting, and I'm sure you too will find it very interesting. But having said that, we on this channel are positive. We're always positive. And we always try and focus on solutions, rather than the problem. So I was very interested, and very fascinated at David Icke's suggestion, to a solution, to what we're going through. He says, and I fully agree with this statement, that most of us have never been exposed to undiluted evil. And that is why it is very difficult for people to understand what is going on, to wrap their minds around what is going on. Because according to Icke, what is happening is that something beyond evil, not evil, something beyond evil is running the world right now. And indeed has been running the world for a long time. I need to repeat that for emphasis. Something beyond evil, and it is not evil, it is beyond evil, is running the world and has been doing so for a long time. And he says the solution is know the game and then you can win. You know, if you know a certain game, like soccer, football, then it is possible for you to do well in that game and to be in a team that wins. But if you don't know that game, you lose. You'll be a victim. And so it starts with understanding what the people who are behind this want, what their end game is, where they're going with this. If you know where somebody is going with something, you can stop them. But if you have no idea, if you're still zubaring, if I can talk like a Kenyan, you have no clue. You're just very busy firing barbs at David Icke, firing barbs at Kumekucha Chris. Conspiracy theorists, they don't know what they're talking about. These guys are mad, etc., etc. If that is your mindset, then you'll remain a victim. So, where are they going with this? According to Icke, the objective is to damage all businesses, collapse the entire world economy. Another objective is for people to accept, to be tracked. And he explains it very clearly. The way to control any people, and indeed the entire globe, is to introduce something called fear. Now, when fear kicks in, something else kicks in the human brain, the survival instinct. And therefore, everybody will accept anything that they believe will help them survive. And by the way, without thinking for themselves, they'll blindly accept anything that will make them survive. And of course, when you have something called repetition, when you repeat something over and over again enough times, somebody who's not thinking accepts it as a solid truth. And so, it will be very easy for people to pass laws, for instance, which say that it is illegal to refuse a vaccine. If you refuse a vaccine, you'll be breaking the law. And breaking the law has consequences. A fine, a long jail term. You've broken the law. If you refuse your children to be vaccinated, you've also broken the law. It will be very easy for people to introduce such laws all over the world. Indeed, as Icke tells us, there are some certain countries where people have already said that as soon as a vaccine is found for this thing, it shall be mandatory for everybody to take it. And we shall pass the necessary laws to make sure that happens. You know, you can dress such a law in a language which people will not know really what your target is. For instance, you can pass a law and say that nobody who has not taken the vaccine against this virus will be allowed to get onto an aircraft. Governors of counties and states can also pass similar laws and say people who have not taken this vaccine will not be allowed into a county, into a state, period. And of course, I hope you can see that that makes a lot more sense because there seems to be logic. There appears to be some logic, some reason behind it. Because if you study the history of vaccines and the damage vaccines have done throughout history, and this information, of course, is available online on the internet. If you study that, then you'll begin to understand a little more about what I'm talking about. And so according to Icke, these are the objectives of these people whom he refers to as beyond evil, who are running the world. And so what it means is that your horror, your nightmare, will not stop until they're convinced that they can achieve these objectives. And now that you know where they're going, it is easier to stop them. And it starts by getting rid of that thing called fear. Yeah, so that you can think clearly and say, no, this is not correct. When you have not swallowed in hook, line, and sinker everything that has been fed to you, then you'll be able to think clearly. And immediately, you're going to realize one thing. When you have a lockdown, it's good. It'll save lives. Many people who could have been infected with the virus will not be infected. Yeah, and after a certain period of time, new infections will drop to almost zero. Which, looking at logically, is excellent. Yeah, but then something else is also going to happen. And that something else is going to be worse. A lot worse. A total lockdown means that people are not working. People can no longer afford to pay their rent, pay for food on the table. And this is a lot worse for us Africans. Yeah, because of our extended families. We take care of a lot of people. So, when you harm the livelihood of one African, you're actually affecting very many people. If that person is a Luya, maybe affecting over 100. So, think about it. What are the consequences? Desperation, hunger, starvation. We know stress causes illness, yeah, suicides, rise in crime, etc., etc. So that at the end of the day, when you do your sums, yeah, people who have succumbed to this virus, you put them on one column, you put that number on one column, and then you do another column where you put people who have succumbed to the aftermath of the lockdown, and then you put your figure down there. If you still don't see, I can tell you, the last figure, the figure of those who are affected by the other thing, other than the virus, could be 100, 1,000, 100,000 times more. Yes, it may happen over a longer period, but it will definitely happen. So, when you have thought clearly and you're able to see that, you can now ask yourself the question again, whether that really is what people should do. And you see now, if you're able to dare agree with the so-called conspiracy theory of a man called David Icke and Chris Kumekucha, if you're able to agree with that conspiracy theory, you will also now know what the end game is. And it will all make perfect sense. Now I can hear somebody saying, oh Chris, hold on. If there's a problem, desperate people trying to rob others, if there's civil unrest from people in lockdown, then you bring in the military, you bring in the police, they guard the streets, they enforce, they keep us safe. Oh, I'm not quite sure if you realize what you're advocating for is a police state, whereby even more of your freedoms are withdrawn from you. And this is one of the objectives of these people who run the world, as Icke told us. Because that is exactly how they want people to react. These are smart people. They know that this is exactly what is going to happen. And they're happy because it will give them more reason to lock down further, to withdraw your personal freedoms, your God-given freedoms further, so that you can't even move, you can't breathe. The police and the military are all over the place. Now, according to Icke, the solution starts in the human mind with something called perception. Indeed, the good book tells us in Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That lockdown world you perceive, where you'll be fully protected, and you have no problem because your fridge is full. You don't care about others, because when the human mind thinks of survival, They don't think of the survival of others around them. They only think of their own survival. And so, as you accept that situation, what will happen is that you'll continue to accept the other draconian measures. Yeah? And by the time you wake up, it'll be too late to recover. Yes, guys, it's time to sober up. Yes, this is a dangerous virus. We need to win the war against it. Yeah? But then, we need to balance things. Yeah? Livelihoods have to be protected. For many people, remove their livelihoods and you've just killed them. They may be still alive, but it's just a matter of time. You've finished them completely. Social distancing, people wash their hands, take all the necessary precautions, but then let us find a way of ensuring that people keep their livelihoods at all costs. Because the big lie people tell themselves is that once everybody has been protected, once the maximum number of people remain alive, or without the virus, then we'll be able to pick up the pieces later, and jumpstart our economies, jumpstart our livelihoods. That is the big, fat lie most people are telling themselves. Read a bit of history and then consider what is the most important point, which many people have still not seen. And that is, after this is all over, things will never be the same again. We're not going to go back to where we left off. No. It is going to be a brand new world, brand new environment, brand new situation. Picking up and recovering a livelihood from that is not impossible, but it's going to be extremely difficult for a vast majority of people, and understandably so. Stay safe, take all the precautions, stay strong, and most important, stay thinking for yourself. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.